My name is Thomas Brennan. I'm a 42-year-old emergency room physician, and what I saw in hell 3 months ago will change how you celebrate Christmas forever. Your living room right now might be infested with the very demon I encountered. I never believed in those near-death experience stories. I dismissed them as hallucinations, brain chemistry gone haywire in the final moments. But what happened during those 11 minutes I was clinically dead wasn't chemistry. It was revelation. Let me take you back to who I was before that night. I had everything figured out, or so I thought. 18 years in emergency medicine, a wife, 2 kids, a house in the suburbs with Christmas lights that I put up every year without thinking twice. I went to church on Sundays, mostly for the kids, said grace at dinner, prayed when things got rough at the hospital, those nights when we lost patience despite everything we tried. I considered myself a good Christian, a reasonable Christian, the kind who believed in God but also believed in science, who saw no conflict between faith and reason. My daughter Emma, she's 7, had been asking me about heaven all that December. "What's it like, Daddy? Will Grandma be there? Do they have Christmas in heaven?" I gave her the answers I thought were right. Safe answers, comfortable answers. Heaven is beautiful, sweetheart. Everyone is happy there. Yes, they probably have Christmas, because Christmas is about Jesus, and Jesus is in heaven. I didn't know I was lying. I didn't know how little I actually understood. December 17th started like any other shift. The ER was chaos, as it always is during the holidays. Drunk drivers, heart attacks from too much stress and too much food, people slipping on ice. I was 10 hours into a 12-hour shift, running on coffee and muscle memory when the chest pain hit. Not gradual, not a warning. 1 second I was reading a chart. The next second a freight train was crushing my sternum. I knew immediately what it was. You don't spend 18 years in emergency medicine without recognizing a massive cardiac event. I called out to my colleague, Dr. Sarah Chen, and I remember her face when she turned around. The color drained from her cheeks. My vision was already tunneling, darkness creeping in from the edges. I felt my knees buckle, felt the cold linoleum against my cheek, felt hands on me, voices shouting codes and dosages. Then I felt my colleague's hands starting compressions, felt the electricity of the defibrillator, once, twice, 3 times. And then I felt nothing. The transition wasn't like falling asleep. It was like stepping through a doorway I didn't know was there. One moment, fluorescent lights and the smell of antiseptic. The next moment, I was standing, not lying on the floor, standing. But I wasn't in my body anymore. I could see it below me, Dr. Chen still doing compressions, the crash cart beside her, the other nurses preparing medication. I should have been terrified, but I wasn't. There was a strange calm, like the moment right before you fall asleep, when your thoughts start to drift and fragment. Then the light came. I know how cliché that sounds. Every near-death experience story talks about the light. But this wasn't some vague glow. This was a presence. Warm, overwhelming, absolute. It surrounded me, pulled me, lifted me up and away from the ER, away from my body, away from everything I knew. I didn't resist. Something in me recognized it. Recognized him. Jesus was there. Not the Jesus from the paintings in Sunday school, not some distant historical figure. He was there, real, more real than anything I'd ever experienced. His eyes held everything, every moment of my life, every choice, every secret, every lie I told myself. Those eyes saw me, really saw me, in a way I'd never been seen before. And instead of judgment, there was compassion so deep that it seemed to touch the hidden parts of my soul. He didn't speak with words at first. He didn't need to. Understanding just flowed into me. I saw my life the way he saw it, not through my justifications, not through my carefully constructed narratives about being a good person, a good doctor, a good father. I saw the truth. The times I chose convenience over integrity. The moments I was too busy for my kids, too distracted for my wife. The patience I gave up on too quickly because I was tired. The pride I wore like armor, convincing myself I had it all figured out. Tears I couldn't physically cry burned in whatever I was now. Shame crashed over me in waves. This was it. This was judgment. I had failed. But then he spoke, and his voice was gentle. "Do you know why you're here, Thomas?" I didn't know how to answer. I thought I was dying. I thought this was the end. "You're not finished yet," he said. "I have something to show you." The light around us shifted and changed. We were moving, but not through space the way I understood it. We were moving through layers, dimensions, realities I'd never imagined. The warmth started to fade, the peace started to recede, and something else crept in, something cold, something that made every instinct in my being scream to turn back. Jesus was still beside me, but his presence had changed. Not diminished, but focused, shielded, like he was protecting me from something I wasn't meant to fully experience. "Where are we going?" I tried to ask, though I'm not sure if I actually formed words. "I need you to see what's really happening," he said. "What's been happening in your homes, in your families, every Christmas for generations." The darkness around us became absolute. Not the absence of light, but the presence of something that devoured light, and with it came sounds, distant at first, screaming, wailing, the sound of total despair. We were descending into hell. I know what you're thinking. Hell is a metaphor. Hell is psychological. Hell is what we create for ourselves through our choices. That's what I thought too. That's what made it safe to be a modern Christian, to reconcile faith with reason. But I was wrong. Hell is real. Terrifyingly, absolutely, undeniably real. The heat hit me first. Not like fire. Worse than fire. This was heat that burned from the inside. Heat that came from separation, from the complete absence of God's love. It wasn't consuming me because Jesus was there, but I could feel it pressing against whatever protection he provided. Then I saw them, souls, human souls, trapped in darkness so complete that it had weight, had texture, had substance. They weren't burning in lakes of fire like the medieval paintings. They were isolated, alone, each one completely cut off from God, from love, from hope, from any possibility of relief. And the worst part, the part that still wakes me up at night, was that they knew. They understood exactly what they'd lost. They could remember love, remember joy, remember God, but they could never touch it again, ever. The anguish was beyond anything I can describe. If you took every moment of grief, every instant of heartbreak, every second of despair from every human who ever lived and concentrated it into a single point, it wouldn't come close to what I felt there. But we weren't stopping. Jesus was taking me somewhere specific. We moved through the darkness, past the tormented souls, deeper into regions I didn't know existed, and then I felt it before I saw it. A presence that was wrong, not just evil, wrong, like a tear in reality itself, something that should never have existed. The Christmas demon. It wasn't what I expected. I thought demons would be obvious, monstrous, clearly evil. This thing was beautiful in a terrible way. It had the shape of something angelic, something glorious, but twisted, corrupted. Its light was cold, its warmth was hollow, and around it swirled images. Christmas trees, decorated living rooms, families gathered around presents, shopping malls, credit card bills, arguments over money. Children crying because they didn't get what they wanted. Parents exhausted, resentful, going through motions they didn't believe in anymore. This demon wasn't in hell because it was being punished. It was in hell because this was its headquarters, its home base, and from here it was feeding. Jesus spoke again, and his voice carried weight that made the darkness itself recoil. "This is Materius," he said, "the demon of empty celebration. It wasn't always like this. Once it was an angel of joy, of genuine fellowship, of families coming together in my name. But when humanity began to forget why they celebrated, when Christmas became about everything except me, Materius fell, and now it feeds on the emptiness. I watched, horrified, as the images around the demon shifted and moved. I saw families I recognized, neighbors, friends from church, even my own living room. Every decorated Christmas tree, every string of lights, every wrapped present that was given out of obligation rather than love, every forced smile at a family dinner where people couldn't wait to leave, all of it was feeding this thing. How? I managed to ask. How is this possible? Materius doesn't create the emptiness, Jesus said. It just amplifies what's already there. It takes the secular Christmas, the commercial Christmas, the Christmas that has nothing to do with me, and it turns it into a weapon that destroys families from the inside, that makes people hate the very idea of being together. That turns my birthday into a season of stress, debt, disappointment, and division. I saw my own Christmases in that swirling chaos, the arguments with my wife about how much to spend, the disappointment on Emma's face when she opened a present that wasn't quite what she wanted, the exhaustion of trying to make everything perfect while completely missing the point of why we were doing any of it. The way I'd go to Christmas Eve service and think about my to-do list instead of worship. Every empty moment, every hollow tradition, every time I celebrated Christmas without actually celebrating Christ. It was all there, all feeding this demon. But there was something worse, something that made my non-existent blood run cold. Materius was looking at me, not at the version of me in hell with Jesus, at the me still on the ER floor, heart stopped, brain dying, at the me who would, if I survived, go home in a few weeks and put up the same lights, buy the same presents, go through the same motions. It was waiting for me. Jesus turned to face me fully, and the compassion in his eyes was almost harder to bear than the demon. "This is why I'm showing you this, Thomas," he said. "You're going back. Your time isn't finished, but when you go back, you need to understand what's really at stake. Christmas isn't just a holiday, it's a battleground, and right now Materius is winning." The demon smiled, if you could call it a smile. It was the expression of something that knew it had already won, that knew most people would never believe what I'd seen, that knew even if they did, they wouldn't change. Then Jesus spoke directly to the demon, and his voice carried authority that made hell itself tremble. "Not this one," he said. "This one is mine." The light exploded around us, the heat vanished, the screaming faded, and suddenly we were somewhere else. Somewhere that made my soul ache with recognition, even though I'd never been there before. We were in modern homes, Christian homes, living rooms I could have walked into any December, and I could see them. Not demons like Materius, smaller things, parasites, feeding off the artificial trees, the expensive decorations, the wrapped presents piled high. Each family had them, these small entities that whispered disappointment, that amplified stress, that turned joy into obligation. "Your living room," Jesus said quietly, "right now. Look." And I saw it. My own home. My wife putting up decorations while checking her phone, distracted, not really there. My kids fighting over which ornament went where, the tree in the corner, beautiful, expensive, and completely devoid of any sacred meaning. And there, in the shadows, I saw them, the parasites, feeding, growing, waiting for Christmas morning when the disappointment would be greatest, when the emptiness would be most profound. "This is what I need you to tell them," Jesus said. "This is what they need to understand. Every Christmas celebrated without me isn't neutral. It's not just a harmless tradition. It's an open door, an invitation, and Materius never refuses an invitation. I wanted to ask more. I wanted to understand how to fight it, how to close those doors, how to celebrate Christmas the way it was meant to be celebrated. But the light was pulling me back. The warmth was fading. I could feel my body again, feel the pain in my chest, Feel the compressions, feel life dragging me back into flesh and bone. No, I tried to say, I'm not ready. I don't know enough. You know what you need to know, Jesus said, his voice growing distant. Tell them the truth, Thomas. Tell them what Christmas has become. Tell them what's waiting in their living rooms if they don't change. The last thing I saw before I crashed back into my body was Materius, still watching, still smiling, still feeding on 1,000 empty Christmases happening at that very moment. Then pain. Incredible, crushing, burning pain. Air forcing into my lungs, my heart stuttering, stopping, starting again. Dr. Chen's face above me, tears streaming down her cheeks saying, "We got you back, we got you back. You were gone for 11 minutes. 11 minutes in hell. 11 minutes that changed everything. I'm not going to tell you I became a perfect Christian after that. I didn't. I'm still a doctor. I still believe in science. I still struggle with doubt. But I can't unknow what I saw. I can't unsee Materius and the 1,000 ways it's infected the holiday that's supposed to celebrate the birth of Christ. And I can't ignore what Jesus showed me about your homes, about your living rooms, about what's happening right now, in this moment, as you prepare for another Christmas. Because he didn't just show me hell's demon, he brought me to modern homes, Christian homes. And I saw the infestation with my own eyes, your living room, right now. Let me show you what's happening. In my vision, Jesus took me from hell directly to a Christian family's living room on Christmas Eve. The transition was jarring. One moment I stood in hell's oppressive darkness, watching that demon coiled in its lair. The next moment, I was surrounded by the warm glow of Christmas lights, the smell of pine from a decorated tree, the sound of laughter echoing through a home. But I could still see what they couldn't. The demon I'd just seen in hell was there, in their home. And they had absolutely no idea. I looked at Jesus, my heart pounding. He simply nodded, his expression filled with profound sadness. Then I understood why he'd brought me here. This wasn't just a vision of hell's torment. This was a warning about hell's invasion into places we consider sacred. The family gathered around their Christmas tree looked perfect. A mother arranging presents, a father pouring drinks, 2 children arguing playfully over who gets to place the star on top. Classic Christmas Eve. Traditional, wholesome, Christian even. I could see crosses on the walls, a nativity scene on the mantle. These were believers. They went to church. They celebrated Jesus' birth. But I could see something they couldn't. The demon was coiled around their Christmas tree like a serpent around prey. Its form was translucent to them, but crystal clear to me. Dark, writhing, feeding. I watched as it leaned close to the mother's ear as she picked up a gift. And I heard it whisper lies so subtle she'd never recognized them as demonic. It amplified her stress about whether the gifts were expensive enough. It stirred resentment that her husband hadn't helped more with preparations. It twisted her joy into anxiety, her peace into performance. The father felt it too. I could see tension creeping into his shoulders as the demon circled him. Irritation at the mess, frustration at the cost, a nagging emptiness despite all the activity. The demon fed on it, growing slightly larger with each negative emotion it cultivated. Then I understood what Jesus wanted me to see. This demon doesn't just torment souls in hell. It infests Christian homes during the very season meant to celebrate Christ's arrival. It specializes in Christmas. It's been doing this for centuries, turning the most sacred celebration into a spiritual battlefield. Jesus spoke then, his voice cutting through the festive noise. He knew everything about me, remember. He knew I'd celebrated Christmas my entire life, always feeling something was missing despite the decorations and traditions. Now he was showing me why. He said this demon hates 3 things specifically. First, it hates when families put Christ genuinely at the center of Christmas, not just in decoration, but in devotion. Second, it hates when believers recognize secular traditions for what they are, empty distractions from the Incarnation's miracle. Third, it hates prayer. Specific, protective, Christ-centered prayer during the Christmas season absolutely terrifies it. I watched the family more closely, and the signs became impossible to miss. The mother and father began arguing over something trivial, a forgotten ingredient for dinner. Their voices rose, the children stopped laughing. The demon grew more solid, more present, feeding on the discord it had carefully cultivated. This was its work. Transform celebration into stress, turn family gatherings into battlegrounds, replace Christ's peace with manufactured chaos. And this family had no idea they were under spiritual assault. Jesus turned to me with an intensity I'll never forget. He said, "Most Christians have felt this, but never understood what they were feeling. Unexplained tension during Christmas preparations, arguments over details that shouldn't matter, a strange spiritual emptiness despite religious decorations everywhere, children obsessed only with gifts, never asking about the baby in the manger, marriages strained during what should be the season of joy." If you felt any of these things, listen carefully to what Jesus told me next. He said this infestation isn't inevitable. It's a choice, though most believers don't realize they're choosing it. Every time we prioritize secular Christmas traditions over Christ-centered worship, we open a door. Every time we let materialism dominate our celebrations, we invite spiritual oppression. Every time we gather as Christian families without explicitly consecrating our homes to Jesus, we leave ourselves vulnerable. But there's divine protection available. Jesus gave me specific steps to cleanse your living room, to protect your home, to reclaim Christmas as what it was always meant to be, a celebration of His incarnation, not a demon's feeding ground. The first step is something most Christians never do. We pray before meals, we pray before bed, but we don't consecrate our living spaces to Christ explicitly during Christmas. Jesus told me to tell you, pray a prayer of sanctification over your living room before you decorate. Not a casual blessing, a warfare prayer. Declare that this space belongs to Christ, that His birth is the only celebration occurring here, that no spiritual entity has permission to operate in this consecrated ground. I watched as Jesus showed me a different family who had done this. The demon couldn't even enter their home. It circled outside, furious, powerless. Their Christmas was different, peaceful, Christ-saturated. The children asked questions about Jesus. The parents worshipped together. Joy wasn't manufactured through presents, but flowed from genuine celebration of the Incarnation. Second, remove secular symbols that have no Jesus reference. I know this sounds extreme, but Jesus showed me how demons attach to these objects, using them as anchor points for spiritual oppression. Santa Claus decorations, reindeer, elves, snowmen, anything that draws attention away from the nativity, from the manger, from Christ Himself. These aren't innocent, they're strategic. The enemy knows exactly what he's doing when he floods our culture with Christmas imagery that has zero connection to Jesus. Replace them with Christ, nativity scenes, scripture verses, images of the Incarnation. Make your living room a visual testimony that Jesus is the reason, not just a sentiment on a decorative pillow, but a lived reality in every corner. Third, spiritual fasting during Christmas preparation week. The demon I saw in that living room was gorging itself on the family's stress and materialism. Jesus said fasting starves it, not food fasting necessarily, though that's powerful. Fast from shopping, from screen time, from the consumer frenzy that dominates December. Use that time for prayer, for worship, for scripture reading about Christ's birth. The demon can't feed on what isn't there. Fourth, every family gathering must start with Christ-centered worship. Not a quick prayer before the meal, real worship. Sing carols that actually talk about Jesus. Read the nativity account from Luke chapter 2 out loud together. Let the children ask questions about why God became human. Make this non-negotiable. The demon flees when Christ is exalted. It can't coexist with genuine worship. Fifth, daily protection prayer during December, every single day, morning and evening. Pray specifically against spiritual infestation. Ask Jesus to guard your home, your family, your celebrations. Declare his blood over your living room. This isn't superstition. Jesus told me demons have legal access to spaces where Christ isn't actively invited and defended. Your daily prayer removes that access. I'm not making this up. This isn't my opinion or some creative interpretation. Jesus showed me families who implemented these 5 practices. The difference was staggering. Where demons had infested previous Christmases, creating tension and emptiness, now there was peace, real peace. Christ's presence so tangible you could feel it when you walked in the room. Children genuinely excited about Jesus, not just presents. Parents experiencing joy instead of exhaustion. The demon fled, not because the family performed some complicated ritual, but because they made Christmas about Christ again. Completely, uncompromisingly. And demons can't operate where Jesus is genuinely worshipped. When I returned from this vision, everything changed for me. I immediately transformed my own Christmas. I consecrated my living room that very night. I removed every decoration that didn't point to Jesus. My family thought I'd lost my mind at first, but I told them what I'd seen, the demon in hell. The same demon in a Christian living room. The spiritual warfare happening every December in millions of homes. While believers remain completely unaware, we implemented all 5 practices that Christmas, and my family felt the difference instantly. The peace of Christ returned. That inexplicable tension that had always marked our Christmas preparations, that stress we'd normalized as just part of the season, it disappeared completely. We worshipped together on Christmas Eve, really worshipped, and my children asked more questions about Jesus than they ever had before. The emptiness I'd felt every Christmas for years, despite all the religious decorations and church services, it was gone. The spiritual oppression I'd carried without even realizing it lifted. I knew then why Jesus had shown me this vision, not just for my family, not just for my own spiritual freedom. He said explicitly, tell them, before this Christmas, before they gather in their living rooms surrounded by trees and lights and gifts, unaware that a demon from hell might be coiled right there among them, feeding on their stress, amplifying their materialism, stealing their joy, replacing Christ's peace with manufactured chaos. You have days, maybe hours, to protect your home before Christmas gatherings begin. This isn't something you can postpone until next year. The demon is already there if you haven't consecrated your space. It's already whispering if you haven't declared Christ's authority. It's already feeding if you haven't starved it through fasting and prayer and worship. This is direct revelation. The Christmas demon is real. Your living room can be infested. I've seen it. Jesus showed me specifically so I could warn you. But now you have the knowledge to fight back. You know the 5 steps. Consecrate your living room. Remove secular symbols. Fast from consumer frenzy. Start gatherings with worship. Pray daily protection. These aren't suggestions. They're spiritual warfare strategies given directly by Jesus to combat a specific demonic entity that specializes in destroying Christian celebrations of his birth. Ask yourself right now, is Christ truly at the center of your Christmas? Or is he just present? There's a massive difference. The demon can coexist with Christ's presence if he's not genuinely central. It happens in churches. It happens in Christian homes. Religious decorations everywhere, but Christ relegated to background character while materialism and tradition take center stage. That's exactly what the demon wants. It doesn't need you to reject Jesus. It just needs you to distract yourself from him. And Christmas, ironically, has become its most effective tool for doing exactly that. But you can choose differently, starting today, this moment. Before you hang another decoration or buy another gift or plan another gathering, stop. Consecrate your space. Declare war on spiritual infestation. Invite Jesus to be not just present but central, ruling, worshipped, exalted. Share this testimony before Christmas. Text it to your family group chat. Post it on your social media. Other families need this protection. Other believers are experiencing that same unexplained tension, that spiritual emptiness, that Christmas stress they think is normal, but is actually demonic oppression. They need to know there's a reason and there's a solution. Jesus wants you to know your home can be a sanctuary, not a battlefield. Your Christmas can be saturated with His peace, not shadowed by demonic presence. But it requires a choice, His way or the world's way, Christ-centered celebration or culture's distraction. Choose today, choose now, before the demon coiled around countless Christmas trees feeds on one more Christian family's joy. I saw hell's demon. I saw its strategy. I saw Christian families completely unaware of the spiritual warfare happening in their own living rooms on the holiest night of the year. But I also saw Christ's power to cast it out. That power is available to you right now, this Christmas, in your home, for your family. Jesus defeated that demon at the cross. He defeated it in hell. And He will defeat it in your living room the moment you invite Him to be truly central, not just decoratively present. That's the promise He gave me to share with you. Your home can be free. Your Christmas can be what it was meant to be. A celebration of God becoming flesh, dwelling among us, bringing peace on earth and goodwill toward all. But only if you fight for it. Only if you recognize the battle. Only if you implement the protection He's offering. The demon is real. The infestation is real. But Christ's victory is more real. And it's yours for the claiming.